This weekend's game against Australia is going to provide a lot of answers for the Springboks side. Here are 8 vital questions that the Springboks must answer this week against Australia. As always, leave your opinions down in the comments. Like I always say, I try to get back to as many as I can, and a lot of you have been bringing up some very interesting points in the comment sections over the last sort of 2 days. If you haven't, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're trying to interview Siya Kolisi and Rassie Rasmus by the end of this year, and we need you guys to help us out with that. Still about 82% of you guys that watch this channel on a regular basis are not subscribed, so please hit that subscribe button. It helps the channel out more than you know. All right, let's get into these 8 questions. Now, the first one is, will the new front row sink or swim? Now, obviously, Rassie Rasmus has taken a lot of risks this week against Australia, trialing out a lot of new players in different positions and different combinations. We have Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Johan Grobler, and Thomas du Toit in that front row. Now, normally, we play a very experienced front row of Ox, Frans Malherbe, and Bongi. But we don't necessarily have that this week, right? Jan-Hendrik Wessels had a very good game against Portugal, and he's one of the guys that have sort of come up through the system, and a lot of time, money, and experience has been invested into Jan-Hendrik Wessels to sort of be one of the future props of South Africa. He can also play hooker, but that hasn't necessarily gone to plan. Jake White has come out and said that Jan-Hendrik Wessels, the plan for him was to always play hooker because that's sort of where the gap is in the Springboks side. After Bongi and Malcolm Marx, we don't really have a third choice hooker, even though Johan Grobler now is our third choice hooker. But even Johan Grobler at the Bulls is playing Jan-Hendrik Wessels out of that position in the hooker position. Johan Grobler in that hooker position, I thought he deserves an opportunity. He had a very good season for the Bulls, and now we're really going to be able to test his mettle against this Australian side who will be fired up, who will want to bounce back from this. And from the dominance of last week's scrum, Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Johan Grobler, and Thomas du Toit are really going to have to put in a good shift here to even rival what Ox and France and Bongi did last weekend. And then you got Thomas du Toit, who, performed great for the Sharks, moved to Bath, had a very good season for Bath over in the Premiership, and he's going to want to prove himself again. He's a very good prop, and I think if these guys can do the job against Australia, South African rugby is in a very good spot, because then we have almost 3 sets of front rows that we can put out that we know that they can win and dominate away from home. So that's going to be a massive question that needs to be answered this week: is can the front row swim or sink or swim? Let me know what you guys think. The second question is, are Salman Murat and Rowan Nokia genuine lock options for the Springboks? Now, if none of our locks were injured, right, our pecking order is basically Eben Etzebeth, Franco Mostert, Loet de Jager, Jean Klein, Argeus Snyman. So there's a lot of locks that South Africa do have. Unfortunately, the majority of them are injured. So now we sort of have to throw our younger guys in, our less experienced guys in, and they are really going to get a test. We saw Salman Murat captain against Portugal. I'm not too sure. I would say he's a good leader and a good captain. He's captained all of his age groups now up to the Springboks. He's captained the Stormers to URC titles. He is a good captain. I just think there are question marks around his performance. And for me, I really hope he puts his hand up and really puts the critics to bed. Rowan Nokia has had a great season for the Bulls. He played in that Wales test that we ended up losing in Bloemfontein. Again, one of those tests where Rassie sort of overhauled the team. There were plenty changes, and the Springboks just couldn't get the job done against Wales. So this is another one of those opportunities for Rowan Nokia where he hasn't necessarily been thrown in with the core of the forwards. It's more like, here's an opportunity, see what you guys can do. Obviously, these guys are going to want to prove themselves, but if Rowan Nokia can put his hand up, then we have another lock option, and especially a number 5 lock option, which the depth is a little bit less than the number 4 lock option. So it's going to be a big weekend for Salman Murat and Rowan Nokia. Check them in the lineouts. Let's see them in the scrum and with the ball carrying options. There's a lot of questions around that, and I'm really hoping they answer that. Our third question is Ulrich Lowe the first, second, or third choice 8th man for the Springboks at the moment? Now, I thought he provided some very, very good impact against Portugal when he came off the bench. And I thought he had a very good game against Australia last week. Now, there is a difference between having a good game and having a great game and really encapsulating what that Springbok number 8 jersey is all about. If you think about Springbok number 8s, Dwayne Vermeulen, Pierre Spies, all these big ball carriers that can really get you over the gain line and create you some momentum. The ferocity behind a Springbok 8th man needs to be there. I think we do see that in Ivan Roos, where he wants to get forward. He's aggressive. He really wears that number 8 jersey very, very well and is the mold of a Springbok number 8. But I do think Ulrich Loh has performed phenomenally well for the Bulls and needs to really put his hand up here. I mean, last week we had all the momentum going forward and he just didn't seem like he was dominating the collisions that much. So I think this is almost not a last chance, but there's a lot riding on the start for Ulrich Loh. We've also got Kwagga Smith on the bench. We know Kwagga can start in that number 8 position. I just think he is a little bit better off of the bench. But Ulrich Loh really has to stick his hand up. He has to get over the gain line. He has to win collisions. He needs to have a big one. Whether he's first, second, or third, look, I think Jasper Visser is still probably the first choice option in that number 8 jersey. Again, that guy gets over the gain line. He's very, very impactful in that number 8 jersey. Ulrich Loh is probably sitting between 2 and 3. I think 2 and 3 is probably Ivan Roos and Ulrich Loh at the moment. And then, I mean, you still have guys like Cameron Hanekom, Mpilo Gumede, Pepsi Buthelezi, who can all play that number 8 position. So the competition's high. Ulrich Loh has a massive opportunity here, and he needs to get the job done. Question 4 is, can Morne van den Berg handle the pressure of being the Springbok scrum off? Now, if you don't know too much about Morne, he came up through the Lions. He's been playing for a bit of a lackluster Lions side for the last couple of years, but he really had a breakthrough season in the last URC campaign. So much so that they had to move Saneno Lahamba to play fly-off for the Lions so that they could start Morne van den Berg. Look, he's a very high-tempo, feisty little scrum-off. He kind of reminds me of a Faf de Klerk back in the day. He throws his body around. He's really quick. His passing's good. He can break open a game. But the pressure of playing number 9, especially with an unexperienced 8 in Ulrich Loh and an unexperienced 10 in Sasha Feinberg Ngumazulu, is going to be the biggest test for him. He's really going to have to keep his composure. It's not like he has Handré Pollard and Jasper Visser either side of him to sort of help him out. It's a brand new 8, 9, and 10. So the pressure is going to be extremely high on Morne, but I think he's just got to stick to his game. He's got to be feisty. He's got to be nippy. He just needs to play the game that he was playing in the URC. And if it is successful, then all of a sudden that scrum off position is looking very, very competitive. Obviously, we still have Faf, who I'm not too sure might be phased out in the next couple of years. We got Kobus, who again has been there and thereabouts. We got Grant Williams, who I think is probably going to be our scrum off for the 2027 Rugby World Cup. But then you also have Morne, who could cause up a little bit of a stir here and really make Rassie, Tony Brown, and the attacking staff think about that number 9 position. Question 5, and probably one of the biggest questions that needs to be answered this week, is who is the best 10 in this system? Now, I made a whole video yesterday sort of explaining my thought process behind the fly-off and the inside center positions, but Sasha has been given another opportunity here, which is the correct call because he had a great game against Australia last week. He's proven that he's comfortable in the Springbok jersey, and he needs to really kick on here. Again, he's not surrounded by all the experience. Yes, I saw a lot of comments saying, but Lukhanyo Um's experience, Jesse Creel, Ches and Colby. But I'm really talking about that 9-10 inside center combination. Yes, Lukhanyo is experienced, but not in the number 12 jersey for the Springboks. Morne van den Berg, it's his first start for the Springboks, and it's only Sasha's 6th cap. So Sasha is really going to have to put his best foot forward here. And then you've also got Handré Pollard and Manie Lebok on the bench who are ready to come on and also prove themselves as to why they should be wearing the number 10 jersey against the All Blacks. I think if Sasha has a really good game here and a really good go, I wouldn't be surprised to see Sasha playing against the All Blacks at home, especially in Cape Town, his home stadium. So there's a lot of questions around that number 10 jersey. Marnie's going to get a bit of time as well, so we can see Manie Lebok back in a Springbok top. But let me know, who do you guys think is our best 10 at the moment? And more specifically, who is our 10 that should be playing against the All Blacks? Question 6, and it's a very interesting one. Can Lukhanyo and Handré Pollard be options in that number 12 jersey? Now, again, I covered this a little bit in yesterday's video, but basically, we don't have that much depth in the number 12 jersey. Damian de Allende, Andre Esterhuizen, and now with Andre Esterhuizen's ban, it's sort of provided a little bit of an issue, which is why we see Lukhanyo playing 12, which is why we saw Handré Pollard come on for Damian de Allende in that number 12 position last week. So Lukhanyo is going to get his go and start at 12. I'm fairly certain that Handré Pollard is going to come off the bench and play 12. And Rassie and the coaches are sort of trying to build that depth, seeing what their best options are. This isn't me saying that Damian de Allende is not going to be in the Springbok team. I still think he is our best 12, but he can't play 13 test matches in a row. There needs to be rotation. Otherwise, we're just going to burn him out and he's going to get injured for vital games. So this is a massive question that I'm really looking forward to seeing. Lukhanyo perform perfectly in that Portugal test, controlling that 12 and 13 channel. Handré Pollard at 12 is going to help our running game because his passing is very good. It gives us another option for a kick out of hand. It increases our exit options. So it's a very, very clever move. But will it backfire is going to be the question. And is Pollard better in the 12 or 10 jersey? Question 7. Can Aphelele Fassi step up to the plate? Now, in that 15 jersey is very, very interesting. We still have Willie Leroux, who's on about 96 caps, I believe. So he is going to play out till his 100th cap by this year. But I think Rassie and the coaching staff are going to start phasing him out over the next couple of years, and he's going to sort of play a mentor role, right? We obviously still have Damian Willemse, who's recovering from an injury, and when he's back, I still think he's the Springboks' best 15 if Willie's there or not. We also have Sasha, who can play 15, but I prefer him at 10, and Rassie said in a press conference that he's not going to look to play Sasha at 12, but rather specialize in that 10 and 15 jersey. So Sasha could be an option for the 15 jersey. Aphelele Fassi is another one of those, and he got his opportunity against Wales, but I think, again, it was a team that had a lot of changes, right? So he had to rely on his individual brilliance, which is exactly what he did, and he performed phenomenally well. And I think it might be a little bit unfortunate for him that he doesn't have a set experienced backline. Again, I'm using experienced as a vague term because I know we have Lukhanyo, Jesse Creel, Cheslin, and Mpimpi, but it would have been nice to see Fassi with our out-and-out backline just so that he could get a real go in that number 15 jersey and that maybe not so much pressure is placed upon him in his individual performance. Then again, this is an opportunity. Fassi's had a great season. He's a great player. He's great in the air. And he needs to try and take this opportunity to cause Rassie and the coaching staff some more selection headaches, which is very, very good to have because if Fassi has a good game, then all of a sudden we have 3 or 4 guys that can play in that 15 position. And then finally, can a brand new Springbok team win away in Australia? And if we do, or if we don't, what are the sentiments behind that? Now, look, this 10 changes to a team is a lot. And the Springboks normally don't play as well in a second test against a team. We recently saw it against Ireland where they dominated them in that first test and then didn't look like a winning team at all in that second test. We absolutely bulldozed Australia in the first test. Now Rassie's made 10 changes, which is very, very risky. But it's kind of a win-win for him. If the Springboks win, then he's a genius. If they lose, he could say that we're testing our players, we're blooding them, we're trying to build the depth and let these younger guys run around a little bit. So I also think if we lose this test, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to lose the Rugby Championship. I think Rassie Erasmus and the Springboks are confident that they can beat New Zealand on home soil twice, then go to Argentina, win, and then beat Argentina in South Africa. So if the Springboks lose this game, I don't think it's going to impact the result of the Rugby Championship, but it might slow our momentum down and it might be a bit of a killer for those players that don't perform. Because if they don't perform in this test match, it's very easy for Rassie and them to say, maybe they're just not cut out for Springbok rugby. Then again, maybe they haven't been given the correct opportunity here with so many changes. It's not going to be as connected. But then again, they could just run out and absolutely obliterate Australia. So for Rassie, I think it's a win-win. And I think if the Springbok team wins away in Australia, some people are calling it a B or C side, then that is massive, massive props to the Springboks. And it's only going to build our confidence and our momentum. So A lot of questions to be answered this week against Australia. Let me know your thoughts on all of these questions. There's a lot to break down here. If you haven't, please hit that subscribe button, leave this video a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace.